guys, KO here. Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila, where we are working to inspire positive, radical social evolution by uniting mission-driven humans. I'm so excited to be with you today. I'm bringing back a TNT regular, the Ashley Simone Knight. She is a entrepreneur, project management professional, and pop culture enthusiast. We are going to be unpacking the documentary around Harry and Meghan with the undertoning theme of when does tradition no longer allow for what is now considered bad behavior. We're going to talk about it and some running themes of just culture and racism and our thoughts on the documentary in general. We don't care if you watch it or not. It's just conversation that we think needs to be had, and so we're here to have it. Enjoy this one. Be sure to check us out wherever you get your podcasts and watch the video on YouTube. Cheers.
Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Questioning a better way, one gracefully disruptive conversation at a time.
Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila. I'm excited to be here, but full disclosure, I'm in the studio, which is not currently temperature controlled, and I think it's like negative something in Colorado. So you can literally go watch this video on YouTube. You can see my breath coming through the screen. Meanwhile, Ashley is in a warm place, sipping an even warmer drink. So bottoms up to you and Ashley. Everyone else is having a nice libation. I don't even have an intro for Ashley because she's a pseudo co-host of the show, but we have Ashley, the Ashley Simone Knight. Let me say it how it needs to be said on the podcast. Coming back to us, she is a business professional. She is an entrepreneur. She is a podcaster extraordinaire. Ashley, welcome back to Turmeric and Tequila.
Hello. So glad to be back. I feel like it's been forever.
I know. And what's cool is everyone's going to get a double dose because we're going to be doing our annual New Year's wrap up of 2022. What year is it?
I know.
Breaking it down. But today we've got a special one. We are going to make it quick because it's cold, but also I don't want to give this more time than it needs. But we're going to be talking about the documentary series with Harry and Meghan. And we're going to be giving you like our takes on it and what we think, but it's not really like, or from my stance, a for or against Meghan and Harry. I think it's more of a conversation around the whole environment of what they're in, of what's going on. So if you're for or against them, we're not here to convince you to watch it or anything like that. We're just going to do a breakdown on what we think as Americans. And what's cool is you have two different races talking about it. I even told Ashley that wasn't intentional on my behalf. I love it. That works out. But yeah. I really thought she was one of my only friends that would take time to watch the documentary. And she was. So, and any excuse to get on that, obviously. But
fun fact, me and my mom were very into like historical things. So not that I'm like necessarily like excited or a fan of the monarchy, but we just love historical stuff. So I watched.
Yes, I love it. Well, and again, another place where we'll, I think, bring two different perspectives. I'm not into like history or anything. I could have been a better student, but I was playing lacrosse and our priorities were elsewhere. So I'll wear that. But also, I'm not really like a traditional person in general. And I actually think you are more like American tradition, like just speaking very 10,000 foot view regarding tradition. Sure. So I think it's cool. Well, I actually think we'll have very similar opinions, but yeah. in historically between us, I think we're like, you're more traditional. I think I'm less traditional. So we can kind of apply that accordingly.
Can't wait.
But without further ado, these are the highlight topics that I gave to Ashley. I said, and the baseline of this conversation is tradition. When is it no longer an excuse for bad behavior? Because, you know, obviously in anyone's tradition or any country or what race or nationality, I think there's things that are initially done a certain way. And then over time, things evolve. They do, whether we like it or not, and they change and things become less acceptable. Most of that is, thank God. Some of it's just changing. And it's kind of like, when is that line where what we used to do is no longer acceptable in this day and age? And how do we break that? And I actually think Meghan and Harry are a massive catalyst for change, whether they know it or not. And I actually have deep empathy because I think they're catching more than they ever deserve in, you know, being the brunt of that pivot change. But the topics are tradition, when is it no longer excuse, culture, mental health, strategic partnerships, and are the people owed anything? So that's that. And of course, we're going to talk about racism and the conversation there. I'm so glad that was a documentary. But that's enough from me. I think I'm hype on this cold. Ashley, why don't you just give us like your kind of 10,000 foot view on the documentary in general, and then we'll kind of unpack the issues. Like, how did you feel watching it?
Um, I will say it was, keep in mind, communications major. I
Yeah.
think it was very well produced. You can tell they really took their time with this guy. Um, I am glad that they started from the very beginning
Yeah.
of like what their love story is, and they did a very, very good job of weaving in like British history, American history, black white history, like all of that, how all of it culminates into what is going on. I didn't think that they would get that deep
Me either.
to the point where you were seeing a map of, you know, where England conquered. That was wild.
I was blown away with how, because I kind of thought it was going to be like a higher end like tabloid type thing, take like
Yeah.
more their perspective obviously, but more about the drama versus like historical context. I
Mm-hmm.
completely agree. I thought it was very well done, and like time and energy and intention was there.
Yeah.
And I appreciated the education lessons because again, I didn't pay a lot of attention to the history and I didn't know a lot of it. You know, I was fascinated by the strategic partnerships between the Rhoda and like the
Woo!
family. We'll
I knew
unpack
I
that.
knew that was gonna be your section.
Oh,
I was thinking about you the entire time.
because it's like business is one thing, but like man, like that's your family. So, anyways, I'm with you. I think it was good. So I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, no, that yeah, that was like kind of my high level. Just there were so many themes, very important themes that would usually take like episodes to explain, but they
Yeah.
did such a good job of like weaving it all in every single episode. So I was pretty impressed. I'm not gonna lie.
Agree. And I think if anyone's like, I don't want to watch this because of the drama, because that was kind of my view.
Mm-hmm.
I was genuinely curious because I think it's such a major pivot step. And I had like the vibes that like they were this large precipice for change, which, I'm here for. So that's why I watched it. I don't really take interest in the royals or anything like that. Like I don't really get it, I guess, as like, simple American. It just doesn't relate to my reality.
Yeah.
So I'm not connected to it. But if you haven't watched it and you are wondering, should I, whatever, I think you should, just for the historical context and like just like some perspective in general. It's not as dramatic, in my opinion, as I thought it was going to be.
I agree. Yeah, it's not like deep into like the paparazzi as like you
Yeah.
think. Like, of course, they're like a main reason of why they're telling the story, but it's not as like cheesy, I guess, as you would, or things you can't assume exactly what they're going to be touching on.
Yeah. Well, let's start let's start with the positive because we've got a lot to address, some hot takes to come in. Thank God something's hot because it's cold in here.
Yes,
But
steaming hot.
I like what you said. I like that they really did tell their love story from the get-go, and it was genuinely so beautiful and innocent. And
Yeah.
I've got to give a shout out to Meghan. I had no idea she was such a varsity human activist, like doing this, had her own money,
Me
like that was
either.
impressive. I mean, she was doing some intense stuff, and not a lot of famous people are they're putting their money some places, but not a lot are putting their time out there. And she was
Yeah,
putting
doing the work. She was
yeah,
like out there doing the work. I thought she
yeah.
was just an actor.
So did I. Well, to me, if I was in her position, like as a famous person, you might know or you might not, but she could like kind of go to Canada, like kind of still live your life. Like to me, she had like the
Yep.
ultimate balance until she completely didn't. But where you could do what you want and then still be passionate what you want. Again, you've got your own money. I was impressed with that. But to see where they aligned in like the activism,
Yeah.
it made so much sense. Like to me, why they were together and why they had so much in common.
Yeah, they have a lot in common, and they kind of, yeah, they just give me the same vibe of like they're after the same thing. And I like how they both were mentioning that they had their own lives and they knew who they were before they came together,
Yeah.
because me, that's my philosophy of how I would want to meet, well, how I've met my person. But
Yeah.
just like I know who I am, and I have like things that I'm into, and they just happen to align with another person and we can move forward together. So I think that's why people were so shocked that the whole monarchy thing didn't work out, because she's very much into like, yeah, I'll go around the world and shake hands and kiss babies and do whatever the monarchy wants. So I think that was kind of surprising. I think people thought it was like, oh, I'm just going to be cute and famous and just, whatever, wear nice dresses.
Yeah. Well, again, and this is maybe my non-tradition, or I don't know. A lot of traditional things just don't speak to me. It's not even good or bad to me. Just some of it's just not my vibe. So the idea of having to like do all these things and expectation and living in within a box, I think some people might think like, oh, yay, nice dresses and money and privilege. To me, that lifestyle looks very like caging and a lack of freedom. Like I would my soul would suffocate on so many levels.
Oh yeah, there's no way you would survive. Like
Oh,
they put it well by someone saying they look like they're in a gilded cage, which
yeah.
they are.
Yeah.
When you think about it, like, are
Yeah.
you financially secure? Yes. Do you get to do what you want? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Which is
I,
kind of the antithesis of America. So I mean,
so then you insert American, where our culture, and we were talking about this before we jumped on, reality is nothing more than applied meaning. We talk about this a lot on the podcast.
Mhm.
If we don't grow up with it, like, we can understand, you can see this, but like, it doesn't, like, I just still don't really understand like a queen. Like, I bowing down to somebody is a lot for me. And even if it's culture and it's tradition, I
Yeah.
would do it to be polite because it's important to you or it's what you do. But it doesn't really resonate in my heart because there's no applied meaning. I didn't grow up that way. I've never been taught that way. It's a new thing. So when Meghan was like doing the obnoxious bow, you could see Harry like cringing, and it's been in a bunch of recaps, like the body language of how he said it was distasteful or whatever. I kind of think it's very American because we don't have applied meaning, and it's like, we'll do it because we're told to, but there's no like heart space for it because it's not what we do. How did you
We
feel
find
about
it novel. We don't
Right.
find it as like a part of life. Hence, like, why we do like Bridgerton balls. We find
Yeah.
that shit hilarious because we don't do that. And I
Right.
remember you were like, do I have to bow? It's like, girl,
Yeah.
we're at a party.
Well, again, and I'm very,
you are not having it.
I'm not that's just not my thing. And I don't want anyone to bow at me. Like, I don't know.
Right.
It's a
It's
weird
just not
thing.
part of our culture. That's not
Yeah.
American culture. We don't bow towards each other. We don't have
No.
we have a president, but like we talk the most trash about any president we've ever
Yeah.
had. Like we don't have reverence
Yeah.
as, a pillar in American society.
Dude, don't bow. Buy me a shot if you really
Right.
care. Like, do you want to break through to my heart? Yeah, I thought it was interesting, but I was kind of glad to see like her Americanness, and some people might
Yeah.
love or hate that I say that, remained. Like, there was some part of it that's like, I still am who I am. I'm still here for where I'm
Yeah.
from, and like, I don't know. I thought that was
But it made me respect her more because that's how she wasn't there just to be part of the monarchy. She was still going to be who she was. She just wanted to live life with her husband and, like, fulfill their royal duties. Like, wasn't really her thing, but she was down to do it.
Well, then let's talk about that a little bit, because in all relationships, professional or personal or whatever, there's sacrifice. In love, I think there's a lot of sacrifice. And then you bring in the family, and that's a whole thing. Don't get me started there. I mean, do you think it would ever, I'm so proud of him for staying in it, but like, do you think it could ever be too much? Like, it could break it down? I mean, it's a lot. I kind of think they're over the hump, but I'm curious to hear what you think of, like, is there a breaking point? Like, can it be too much?
I think that, once again, because they know who they are, they know what they want, and they are pretty even keel people, I don't think they would have a breaking point. I also think they understand what it takes to be in a relationship. It takes compromise, and it goes both ways. And, I know, like, oh my God, what is her name? Michelle Obama was talking about how compromise can last for years. It's not like, a couple of weeks or just this one decision, like, you get your way. Like, it can go your spouse's way for years, and then it might go your way for years. So one thing that I found very interesting is that she was traveling over to visit him in London because it made more sense when they were dating. And then she went to go live over there once they got married and all of that stuff. And then once all the racial tension and shenanigans started popping off, he had to give up on his side. And he had to be like, okay, like, am I going to be part of this royal family? Even though that's all he's ever known. He's going to move to, a different country. He's not from Canada. He's not from America. He had to give up a lot on his side. So I think they know how hard it is to give up on both sides. And at different times, they've been giving up for each other. I think right now, Harry will always be on the other opposite side of, like, I'm giving more because I gave up my family, especially with all of, like, the tension within the family.
That's very well said. I completely agree. I I think it was sacrifice on both sides for sure. I actually didn't get the vibe like that he was giving up more. I actually really appreciated that he acknowledged she had lost her dad through this and he kind of carried that. I don't know. My vibe was
he lost his dad. Remember his
yeah.
dad and his brother was yelling at him. Like
Yeah.
he's not cool with his family anymore. He chose,
Right.
and to be honest with you, I support what Harry did.
Me too.
I mean,
yeah.
To me, and this is a personal thing, when you marry somebody, that is your family. And then that is your top priority. No longer your grandma, no longer your dad, no longer your mom, no longer your brother. It's your spouse, your children, then your family. So I feel like he made the right decision. I'm just very sad that his other family members couldn't really get with it.
Yeah, I agree. And I just meant I didn't feel like he was victim-y about that. Like I didn't get the tone of like, I'm feeling bad. So I appreciated that he's like, I didn't feel that. And that he was intentionally empathetic around her loss of her dad because he was there because he'd obviously lost his mom.
And I mean, like, let's be clear, she lost like a lot of people too. Like,
for sure.
I mean, not that she ever lost her, but that excuse my language, but her shitty sister. What was that? I don't know if you lost her, but she definitely lost her niece, and that hurt my heart. The whole like, I can't invite you to my wedding. I mean, I've cried for less, but I did cry.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, man. Okay.
Imagine, imagine telling like your favorite cousin, or like, you know what? Just imagine from my side. You know my family. Yeah. Imagine me going to Aunt Stacy, hi Aunt Stacy, and being like, I just can't have you come to my wedding because X, Y, and Z. That hurts. Yeah. That is so sad.
See, I don't apply that much meaning to weddings, and this is why it's good. Not because it's not important.
They had a choir. How can you not apply that much? Come on.
We're definitely.
I know you enjoyed that part.
I cried when I saw the choir.
Okay, so you cried for the choir, but not for the interpersonal relationships.
No, I'm here for the relationships. But to me, it's one day of celebration. I'm like, how are you 365 days a year? It's not like show up on Valentine's Day, pop the big ring, and then act like an asshole the rest of the year. I want like consistent behavior, and I get it. Weddings are meaningful, but to me it's more like the consistent thing. If you told me someone couldn't be there, that would break my heart, but I'd be like, we'll do something that's even more meaningful another time, or we're going to do the dance just for this because we're going to get it done. But I completely hear you that it's heartbreaking, but they have an additional element of the money. Like the second the fame came in and like the other family members can monetize this, that's so something
disappointing.
Yeah,
so, it's like I wasn't even angry at the sister and the dad. I was just, when you're past anger, you're just disappointed.
Yeah,
because it's like I'm pretty sure she would have gotten you some money. Yeah, and honestly, $100,000 doesn't go that far.
No, not for what you're really sacrificing. Like you said, if you would have played it correctly, like how the Rhoda plays it with the family, and started doing the whole game, which I think will eat your soul with, go ahead and get all the money. That's fine. When you lay down at night, you're not going to sleep well. It's just the messiness for what was kind of like, ugh. And then both of them having to kind of sacrifice everything. Like your family gets pretty tight pretty fast.
They sacrifice for each other. I think yes, like he comes from royalty, blah, 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 whatever. I mean, we could have a whole conversation about what does royalty mean to you? Nothing to me.
I think whatever. I already said it. Yeah.
But like they gave up both sides of their family for their family. And now they have to like, they also put in the documentary how their friends are truly their family.
Yeah.
So
there was so many like 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023 vibes of
I was a little triggered when they were like March 2020. I was like, oh no. Yeah. Oh no.
Don't put it back out there.
Oh God. I'm not ready.
There was so many fresh takes. I couldn't believe this has been going on this long. I kind of thought like the Harry and Meghan thing, like when they were unpacking, it was all these years. I thought it was like a couple years. And then again, I don't really pay attention to a lot of it. So I was like, oh shit, this has been going on for a long ass time. Like they looked young in their initial photos. Yeah. So I didn't realize
what they look like now.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
not enough Botox for you.
I was going to say Botox can only undo so much and uncringe so many things. It was just all out there. But I don't know. I think knowing it went on so long, talking about like the mental health struggles, talking about the
Mhm.
sacrifice,
Yeah.
and then seeing how small their world got so fast. I am actually with you. I think once you're married, that is your priority. And to me, it doesn't even, you don't have to be married. You can just be in a committed relationship. But like
Yeah.
once
Mhm.
it's a thing, it's a thing.
Yeah.
And it kind of has to be that way. Otherwise, it doesn't, the union, I don't think works.
It doesn't. I agree. And then, I mean, of course I'm taking it a step further to advance it, but I think it's like your marriage matters, but then also like your marriage matters over your children. Not that
Yeah.
your children don't matter, but
Yeah.
if you're not a strong unit, you can't take care of your kids. So if any of this is out of balance, it's going to cause chaos. And
Yeah.
I think that's what they're experiencing. I don't think they're having chaos between them or their children, but I'm just saying, like, I think there's order to stuff. And then when
Yeah.
things aren't in order, like, this is what you get.
I completely agree. It was ironic though that they started out like long distance and weren't together at all. And then now, fast forward a few years, it's like they're together. Like it's just them essentially. Like I know they're
Yeah.
busy doing their things, but like they kind of got on their own island,
Yeah.
or Tyler Perry's house, one of the two, and did their own thing. Do you
A
want to talk about
stranger,
that?
low
I
key.
know, I know, I know. But he reached out. I was pretty impressed. Like at the my favorite moment, of course, was the choir. I was like, because I remember we way back in the day we were talking about the wedding. And then you're like, it wasn't a traditional wedding, but I'm like, I didn't
Yeah.
watch that. And because I didn't. And when I saw the choir, I was like, I definitely would have watched this. But
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, okay. I understand why you wouldn't have. I mean, I'll watch anything just because of like historical context, and I want to kind of see where the world is at.
Yeah.
And I remember watching, and I wasn't like moved emotionally. I think I was more so shocked because,
Okay.
I mean, like, racism kind of like generated in England. It was kind of like the thing, they pushed it our way, whatever.
Yeah.
We can talk about where it started all day. I could be wrong, whatever. But the fact that like that actually happened in like that historic of a church,
Yeah.
with all of those people, shook me.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, what?
That's the only time I teared up a little bit because I think it was Serena that was saying, and she's like, we looked at the other people of color and we didn't have to say anything.
She looked at Oprah. See, that's how you know
Yeah.
you're famous. I looked
Yeah.
at Oprah.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And she's like, the choir's playing, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I would have gone for this.
What a time.
It was the unsaidness, I think, is awesome, and it said a lot.
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
since we talked about the beginning, their relationship, the courtship, I think that was critical, being distant so they could build that base. So then we get into the Oprah interview. There's questions around the race of the baby. There's an aunt wearing that racist brooch. I didn't know a lot. I knew some of the history of England, which you just spoke about, obviously, but I didn't understand the Commonwealth and how it's like 80% countries of color. And I didn't get, so I was glad to understand that. And I'm fired for not being historically,
no, I'm not even saying it in that way. I'm just like,
I am
just the word Commonwealth, like they are insane, like thinking that they were gonna get that off. Yeah, we're just like this cool group, just come hang with us, but give us all your resources and money. Are you insane? And that's how you know I was meant to be American, because I don't know what would have happened to me if I was Jamaican or somewhere in the Caribbean. I would be pissed.
Dude, probably any other country, I probably wouldn't be alive. I'm serious. Like it's way too
That's
loud.
Insane.
Yeah. Well,
like they're still taking from them. Like what I mean, let's get into it. What do y'all do besides travel the world and spend taxpayer money? Let's be clear. And then like if you want to take it all the way to like the beginning of history, okay, they say that this specific family was ordained by God to rule the country or the world or whatever they feel like saying at the moment. Like, okay, like what does that say for people who have different religions and different faiths, which I know is happening in the UK? Like not everybody is Catholic, not everybody is Christian. Like, come on, we got to be serious. What are y'all doing here?
Okay, well, ask me this, and I'm just going to play because I'm completely in alignment with you, and I agree. And it just doesn't resonate to me. And my thing is, if you know, like the Rhoda's working with the royals, so they're projecting this image of reality consistently and controlling that. And now that we know that, that's common knowledge. I didn't know that before. I mean, you had an idea. but why do you believe it? As a marketing branding professional, I'm telling you I'm lying to you, and then you're going to believe it. And then now we're going to tell you the narrative of what we're doing internationally. Have you believe it? And you have a lot of these companies, Jamaica, trying to get out of the Commonwealth,
Yeah.
consciously so. So it's interesting. And one point further, which I did appreciate this from Harry. Harry goes, we could have had such an amazing bridge mender, or put having a woman of color in this.
They
And
could
being
have
a
had it
model.
all.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I'm sorry. Like, there's only one answer to what Harry had to say, and it's white supremacy.
Yeah.
The minute you let even somebody with like a hint of color in, I think it like negates everything that your family and or your society stands for. Because if they would have treated Meghan right, who's to say they wouldn't have had more black folks coming up in that family, or Indian folks, or anybody of color? They would have lost it.
Yeah.
And it's just one woman. She didn't do anything to anybody.
She
did everything they asked.
Yeah.
So it never mattered.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. It didn't matter. And then when they talked, or they spoke about, it's not so much the race, it was that she was an actress. Like the American actress thing was like the big thing. I believed it. But do you think they rode that excuse more just because they wanted to not get into the conversation around race? Or
of
do
course,
you think
they never spoke, like, London and in the UK, like they do a very good job of like talking about stuff but not talking about it at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, whereas in America we're like, that's white supremacy, I don't like it, you know. Like, we're more like overt, they're very like covert.
Yeah.
So I knew, like, I knew once they started dating that was the issue. I think that both Meghan and Harry, they both live in their own different types of bubbles. So, you know, Harry was more obvious of like, oh, like I grew up in the royalty. I grew up in the institution, or whatever you want to call it. And like, he doesn't really know a lot of stuff. And I will say, I really respect him for saying that he is working every day to be anti-racist, because it's not just like admitting to like what you may have done in the past or what you may have believed. It's like, what are you committing to moving forward, especially to your children?
Yeah.
But the other thing that I feel like people have been talking about this, but I'm not sure if like it's been gotten to everybody, but Meghan lived in her own bubble too. She's from LA.
She talked about this a little bit.
She was surrounded by white folks.
Yeah.
And then she moved to, you know, Canada, which I'm not going to say it has like less racism, but like they deal with things a little bit differently, a little bit chiller. And I think that they both were highly unprepared for how society was going to react to them. I knew it was coming because of the life that I have lived and who I am. But when you live like Meghan, and she passes as a white woman, she does not look like a light-skinned black woman. She looks like a white lady. You're going to have problems because she's never had anybody come at her like that. If you see in all her earlier pictures, all her friends are white. Like, she hasn't had that experience where it's in her face and she had to deal with it.
Yeah.
And you even see where her and her mother were like, oh yeah, like we never had to talk. So like,
I was kind of surprised by that. I'm not going to lie.
I was not.
Okay.
I was not. And
interesting. Okay.
What's really funny is that I had this conversation with one of my friends, and it all comes down to like, depending on like what your background is, and also like how you present to the world. Like I'm what people consider as like a dark-skinned black woman. I have friends who are lighter skinned. I have friends who are like brown skinned or somewhere in the middle. We all have had runs in with racism, but we've all been treated differently. So Meghan gets treated like a white lady. Okay. Yeah. And you're not going to treat me like a white lady. I don't look like a white woman, you know? Yeah. And then you have like some of my friends that are a little bit lighter than me. They may not be treated like me, but they have their own stories of racism. So it's all so different. And that's why I was not surprised at how she like viewed the world, or how she was treated up until the UK went crazy. Because everybody has their own different experiences with racism based on the exact like color of your skin, which is wild.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Very well said. Do you think that Harry and Meghan ever had that conversation around race. Like maybe I missed it. I didn't pick up the documentary. It didn't seem like that was which I actually love, to be honest. But just knowing their specific roles in that they're in, like everything's gonna be picked apart. The actress thing, the parents thing, like everything's gonna be unpacked. So they're in a very unique space. But it didn't seem like race was ever kind of a initial conversation for them at all.
Once again, I think they both live in a bubble.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to have as deep of a so Meghan and Harry would not have had a deep conversation about race the way if like me and Harry were together. Me and him would have a totally different conversation because I get treated differently than Meghan gets treated.
Yeah.
So I think like, sure, like she probably had the conversation based off of how she was treated, which probably wasn't that negative up until recent. So what is there to talk about?
Yeah.
They're probably like, oh yeah, my kids are gonna have blue eyes. Great. Woo. You know, like they have different conversations.
Dude, my soul is laughing though, because I know your type and it would not be him. It's not even a race thing. It's just everything. It's so funny to me. But anyways, that's literally comedy on so many levels. It's interesting. So, we kind of they talk about the getting together, all the bubbles pop. It does sound like they're doing conscious, situations where they're unpacking their things, what have you. It sounds like she introduced him to therapy, which it kind of blew my mind, unless I misheard that. He hadn't done it prior. Like he's been like, you lose your mom, the paparazzi, like to think you never had any sort of support that entire time. That was like traumatic for me to hear. To me, that's unbelievable.
I don't feel like Diana's kids have had any support this.
Yeah.
That man is trash. Like what?
Yeah.
He's worried about Camilla and that's about it. And maybe becoming king one day. Like
enjoy your 10 minutes because you're getting up there.
But I don't feel like, once again, like Harry would always relate to like, oh, I'm feeling this X, Y, and Z. And they'd be like, well, we're in the institution. We have to be this way. Like, no, like you're not going to get therapy for that. Like, this is your life. This is what is expected of you, which is unfortunate.
But dude, the therapy now, like unpacking that years of ingrained, this is how it is.
Yeah. And that's why you see like he's so calm when he's explaining the messiness of the institution, because it's ingrained in him.
Yeah.
I think he's going to need years of therapy before you might get a tear out of him.
Well, I think you see all the things you've never seen before, and all your truths are broken up, which we all have to unpack in some capacity, one way or another. But for them, like your very being is like, kind of a lie. Like the paparazzi is being told, so your narrative is the truth. Like it's your family's almost working against you from day one.
Your family is working against you because they want to stay cushy. And then like, in the very beginning where they were showing how he was born into the institution and how they were treated as children, where they were taking like a zillion pictures of them when they were trying to go ski. That was insane.
Yeah, that made me
like
feel
the way
gross.
that the way that the paparazzi talk to royalty, like they're not royalty. Like they talk to them so disrespectful, and they
like
treat
a commodity.
Yes,
they owe them. Well, I mean, they do. That's why one of my notes. They pay them. I mean, or they are paid by the people. Do you think with that proxy that they essentially do owe something to the people?
I think so. I mean, here's how I feel about it. I think that the royals will continue to live their life under the eye of the paparazzi because they want to stay in their version of what they think is power.
Yeah.
I don't think like once they give up, like, no, you're not taking my picture anymore. No, this is not how this goes. There will literally be no use for them.
Exactly.
And then people will probably turn on them, and then they'll be like, well, get out of here. What are we paying for? Because I'm not saying that, the Rhoda is right, but that is their agreement, because they literally don't make laws. What do they do? Besides get their pictures taken and get used for like fake fodder.
I mean, it worked out for Paris Hilton though. Look, she's got her.
But that's where it's different, because like she's not beholden. She can quit at any time. That's the difference between America and the UK. The UK, like they got you by the balls your entire life. So it's either you get with it or you don't. And Harry was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'd rather make my own money. Which, oh my God, can we talk about how they almost got like, attacked in Canada, like before the borders closed for COVID? What kind of family is it? What kind of family do you have if they know that if they take their security from you and everybody knows where you live?
Yeah.
What kind of family is that? That is trash.
I don't think therapy fixed when I was watching that, all I was thinking was like the Blair Witch Project. Like, you don't know where it is. You don't know what's coming. You don't know where the fucking witch is hiding. Like, I mean, it was obviously fake, but the point is, like, they're in their house. Like, I was scared for them because, like, people are crazy nowadays. They're psycho fans. People think
they were already
things.
climbing their walls. What did you think was going to happen?
Yeah.
And they knew that would happen.
I know.
They knew, and you really, their grandma really gonna let that happen to their grandson? There's no way in hell, God rest my grandmother's soul, that she would ever let anything like that happen to me. That's insane. And that's how you know they're willing to just let whatever be whatever. I'll let you take my picture. I'll forsake my family.
Yeah.
For like comfortability. And I honestly can't say power. I don't think they have power, but power if you want to.
Power, air quotes.
If you insist.
I mean, even all that aside, just like the heartbreaking thought that that's the reality. I don't know how you really like move on from that. Like, I don't know. I think there's space for forgiveness always, just for your own soul, but like knowing that, you leave not only me, like if it was me vulnerable, but my kids,
your great grandkids, like, you really gonna do us like this?
I don't know.
That's insane.
I don't know. And even thinking of that now, like thinking how graceful the documentary actually was, I don't think it was that aggressive. I think it was very gracefully done and still being intentional with the truth. Enough
We're
to,
lucky it wasn't me.
That's what I'm saying. I think they could have gone a lot harder. Yeah. Well, at this point, you have nothing to lose. And to be honest, if you would have did more drama, you would have had higher sales, higher ratings. Like, they could have did the most.
I appreciate how classy they kept it, because no, you put my I don't even have kids right now, but I already know I'm going to be that crazy mom. Like, you come for my kids, we have a problem.
You come for my dogs, we have a problem. Like,
everything. I'm saying, come for like the pet guinea pig.
You're coming my Whitney Houston CDs. It's going down. It's going down.
Now we're talking.
But seriously, it's so real. I don't know. It's interesting. And then obviously the conversation of the race of the baby. But okay, so we've got that, the brooch that the girl wore. You see, they showed the museums and saw like all these like racist statues.
Yeah.
How are they going to, or what's your opinion around how they're going to tell their kids about their history, or to bring them to their museums? Like, how do you even welcome that into your life as for your kids and like their future? Like, I'm so curious to like how that's even going to be managed.
I don't think they're going to be doing that. I truly think they made a clean break. So I don't think they'll ever step foot in anywhere over there.
But at some point the kids are going to know. Like, they're going to know.
But that's why they're doing this documentary now, because you know, in the documentary, Harry was saying, you know, I want to make sure that when my kids grow up and they see all of this and they know what was going on, they can ask me like, what did you do when this happened? And he'll have an answer. You know? So I think they'll be like, here is American history. Here's, you know, UK history. This is how like things like weave together. This is the part you play in it. This is what has happened. And however you want to move forward. Because I mean, they could have kids that are like, I want to be a part of the institution. You never know. You never know.
I've been surprised by less, so that is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I do think though, when I turned off the documentary, I was just kind of like thinking, because clearly we're intentional humans about furthering conversations around things, intentional about evolving and progressing. I would say for me, intentionally, as much as possible. And, you know, I think it's hard to stay in that loop sometimes where it's like, is change happening? Or do we see it? Because like, it's, you know, all this stuff keeps happening. And when I turned it off, I was like, man, I think it is. Like, it's slow, we're late, but like, what are the odds that this white supremacy England thing, like whatever is happening, the prince falls in love with a woman of color, and she happens to be an activist and all this. And like, what are the odds? Like, this is disruption on such a larger level. Like, as intentional as individual humans we can be, this is effing some shit up. And like, maybe change is happening. I don't know. I just had this feeling of like, it's happening. Even if we're doing the most and we're trying, like some sort of like movement is happening in the needle in the right way. And this is such, it's a big step in the right direction without any of our control. And I know we don't control very much, but I don't know. I just had like a very optimistic feeling, and God bless Harry and Meghan, because I think they're weathering the storm of all of it for the rest of us. But I just felt some shred of optimism. How did you feel to kind of take?
No, I feel optimism for sure. I mean, I'm very much we take 3-4 steps forward, 2 steps back type of person, because I'll see where things are moving forward, and then I'll see like, oh wow, okay, we're back to this again. Great.
Yeah.
I do feel like a lot of this has to deal with genes. Like, who is his mother? Like, she literally changed the world and was hugging children with AIDS and all kinds of stuff. Like, she was very, very activist herself. So I think, one of the kids had to turn out like her, and thank God, because one of them did not. So I do think that they're going to, push forward. I do think that Harry does know that that is his calling. Like, okay, I'm my mother's son. This is what I'm here to do. Like, that's why he's always been kind of like the redheaded stepchild, pun intended. So, like, I think they're going to push forward. I think they know that this is the part that they're going to play. And whether it's for the better or worse, like down in history, they will be remembered. But yeah, I don't know. I just think in general, like 3 steps forwards, 2 steps back. So we'll see what happens. I hope the best, of course, but you never know.
The side eye remains. I agree. I think it's not, I mean, the conversation is not even close to over. The evolution's not even close to over.
At all.
The things that need to change. However, I do think it's massive. And this is like my business background. Once it's on TV and we're in the mainstream, the awareness goes to another level, and these conversations start to trickle into places where it probably never would have ever been and never would have changed prior. And you're on top of your mobile home with your foil on your antenna. You don't get all of the channels. Like, you're only watching certain things, hanging out with certain people. Like, it's got to trickle into the mainstream to like at least just build the awareness. So I think with the drama and the hype around it, and then you got Oprah out there, like this is a tidal wave coming through, and it's at the cost of them, but I don't know, I think it's just so much bigger than us.
It's bigger than them, and I know that they know it's bigger than them. That's what their work is all about. So I think they've been positioned, and that they know that this is what they need to do. Now I will be excited when I see, people who look like me, being put in the spotlight. Like, obviously we got to start with Meghan, because, she's a white passing white lady, but it will trickle down, and there will be people like of all different, skin tones. But once it gets to everybody, then I'll be like, all right, cool. Like, people are really taking this seriously.
Yeah. Well, even just the other countries being highlighted. I did not know the Commonwealth. This is my own ignorance of what it consisted. Not even the race conversation, just the Commonwealth in general. But having the women coming together, it was, I can't remember what country it was in, but the women coming together and cooking once a week. So like race, but also the strength in women, like gender.
The cookbook. That was so nice.
Yeah. Again, business. I'm here for it. Like, monetize all this. Like, it is deep sacrifice. Do all of it, but I hear you in the space being created further for other people like her, but of different complexion and different. You got to keep
pushing. You have to keep pushing the needle. This can't be it.
Yeah. She's got her podcast. I think she's doing it. Like, I think have you listened to her podcast at all?
I have not. I haven't either. But I mean, going back to like my previous conversation of like, my experience is going to be way different than Meghan's experience, as it's going to be different than my mom's experience, because we're not necessarily the same color, as opposed to like my best friend's experience, and we're a different color. So we need to keep like, yes, Meghan is doing the work, but we need more people that continue to look different to keep coming forward and doing and giving their perspective and their experience. And then I think we'll have like a better cohesive view of how people are being treated, and more power of like, hey, knock it off. Like, this is how we're going to move forward and treat people.
Amen. how did you feel with the Queen's, this might be a hot take, or hot take that I'm even asking
Give
about,
it to
the
me.
Queen, I know, the Queen's passing, and then just droves of humans coming out. Like, God rest her soul. I have no ill will towards anyone. Like, a soul moves on. I'm here for you. Amen. But I was surprised by how many people pause their life to pay their respects, and God with it. If it means something to you, I'm not here to judge what's meaningful to other people. Do you? But I was stunned with like the pause. It was the longest
Oh
running
my
matriarchy.
God.
Like, I don't know. I guess American Me, I just didn't fully get it. And I was blown away with how many people paused and really took time to pay their respects.
Yeah, I work for a global company, and when the Queen passed, like they took a whole week off.
Of work?
They weren't working.
Even the Rhoda?
I don't know.
I
I
mean, I
don't
don't know
know
why I
that
asked you
much.
that. Like,
But all I know is that
text them
people
and
at
let me
my
know.
company were not working. And I was like, are you hello? I was like, I sent
Your
you
event's
email.
coming up. Yeah.
I have things to do. I don't have time for the Queen dying. Obviously, I feel a little bit differently than the Queen passing away. But to be very fair, like anytime anything happens in the royal family, the whole world stops, to be fair. Like when she passes, everybody stops. When her husband died, where he looked like he was dead for 10 years before, whatever, everything stops. When Meghan and Harry got married, everything stopped. So everything stops when it comes to like very big life events for them. So I was not very surprised.
Okay.
I am a proponent of Twitter. Hopefully sans Elon. Not gonna go there.
Yeah.
But people were having a ball on the other side. Like, I don't know if you so I don't know a lot about Irish history, but I learned that day.
Oh,
They
tell us
hate
about this.
that woman.
Oh,
Hate.
really?
Oh my God.
The Queen?
There was a football game going on. People can go on Twitter and look this up, but there was a football game going on, and the people in the crowd, once they found out, they were screaming, "Lizzie's in a box." Can't make this up.
Oh my God.
Uh-huh.
I'm not here for disrespect. You don't have to like it or believe. I'm with it. But like, that's aggressive.
But here's the thing though. Is it disrespect if like how were the Irish folks being treated by the UK? Like, let's have that conversation.
Yeah.
How are people being treated in the Caribbean? Like, is it disrespect? Like, what do you, and I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I'm just asking the question.
Yeah.
So I saw both sides. I saw people at my company being like really sad and really respectful, and then I saw people on Twitter like, yeah, no, this is what she stood for. Actually,
Yeah.
all these jewels that she has, she stole those from South Africa, give them back. So there's two sides to each story. I'm not saying I'm on either side, but I honestly didn't care that lady died. I'm sorry.
I was just emotionally not connected to it because it's just, again, not in my world or thoughts or whatever. But I mean, I do always,
we don't pay her tax money.
I mean, I'm just not in it, so like fine. But I will say this, regardless of what you do think, I think anytime something negative happen and you bring negativity to it, it costs you. And I'm very mindful of like, even if I don't think they're morally correct humans for the most part or whatever, I don't want to really get in it unless I'm in it and it's impacting and I need to take a stand. That's different. But if I'm just out here with an opinion and I'm like putting out the negativity, that's just not my thing.
But what if that's their way of taking a stand?
Then that's them. That's what you want to do. I just think if you're doing your time and energy and you're already not working, go have a drink and kick it on the couch. I just think you got to be mindful of your energy. And if you're spending it towards something that isn't going to be impactful, and that means even if you want it to be impactful negatively, because that's part of your stand you're taking, fine. But if not, and you're just putting it out there to put it out there.
Yeah, no, of course. I at least from the people that were speaking, like they were directly impacted in some way.
Yeah.
Or like their country was impacted in some way. So therefore, like a lot of people don't talk about it because like, when life events happen in the royal family, everything stops, but nobody talks about the other side of like what they've done to other countries. And they were like, okay, well, let's have this chat. This is why we're not celebrating her, because she or not necessarily her, but what she stands for has done X, Y, and Z. So why would we take this time to be like respectful?
Acceptable. Well, see, that I'd actually like to know because I don't know the history. I don't know the relationship between England.
Okay, so let's do that. Like, talk about history that you do know. What are you gonna do when Trump passes away? You gonna pay your respects? You gonna take a week off? Or you gonna be,
no,
oh
I'm not
God,
gonna
I'm
pay any
so
energy towards it.
sorry that he
Yeah.
passed away.
Probably
Bury him
just like
by
the queen.
Ivanka. What?
Probably just like the queen, like, oh, okay, what's for lunch? Like next, like I don't, there's no,
right.
yeah, no energy goes towards it.
McDonald's
Yeah.
in his honor.
Yeah. Bud Light, American flag, koozie. Dude, I mean, it's just like what do we like? Then I'll donate to Biden's campaign or something. I mean, it would just be like if I'm gonna spend time and energy in one way, we're gonna like move it away from it. Like, I don't know, just be like,
no, I
on
get
to the
it.
next
I
thing.
get it. I'm just,
You know?
I'm not on either side because I'm not British.
Yeah.
I'm also not part of the Commonwealth, but so that's why I see both sides. So
Yeah.
I as long as people know, like, yes, of course you can have reverence if that's what you're into. Of course you can be very into their history. That's cool, but you have to be into all of the history,
Yeah.
not just the cute parts of where they wear tiaras and go to parties.
Which I didn't feel like I saw a lot of that either, other than like the queen's outfits. But mostly I feel like I just experienced that at Bridgerton. It didn't look that like elegant.
They do. It depends on what the event is, but yeah, they be wearing them crowns, and
Oh, okay.
you know, you could get really deep on where those jewels come from.
I don't even, so I have my own business. So I even like nothing shuts down for me unless I shut down. So I don't see a lot of what's going on out there. And I watch my 30 minutes of Lester Holt at night, and like, that's all you get. We're done. We're not on Twitter.
We already have enough going on. Lester Holt can't cover all of that.
Yeah, exactly. They get 2 minutes and like 30 seconds to like wrap up a year's worth. And like, that's enough. Like, that's hilarious.
Agreed.
Well, we'll wrap it up, but do you have anything else you want to cover from anyone that's, wanting to see this? You think they should see it? Words of advice, inspiration, hit us with anything else you want to lay us down with.
I mean, I'm biased. I do think that you should watch it. Like I said in the beginning, like it touches on a lot of really deep, personal, touchy themes, but it does it in a very good way, and it weaves it in every single episode. I mean, if you're really into their relationship, you can see how it started and how genuine it is, if that's what you're into. I didn't even really care about that. So I was like, oh, that's cute. Good for them. But, it just really, really goes deep into history, like each country's history, and even like Meghan and her mother's history, which is like, wow, I didn't know that. So it just opens you up into like learning more, whether you're into like, country history, like cultural history, and, just seeing how you're treated in society, depending on what you look like. Yeah. And even it doesn't necessarily matter if you come from royalty. Like I guess like race has been like a leveling playing field. Not like it'll make you equal, but like it doesn't matter if you are royal, they're still going to treat your family like trash, which was the leveling, like, woo, wow, wild. Never thought you'd see it.
No boundaries.
Exactly. No boundary. Thank you. Well said. Yeah. No boundaries.
And even if you try and put them up, it doesn't matter. Like there's no. It's just...
and that different, and depending on what you look like and what your background may be, you live in your own type of bubble. Not that it's good or bad, but I think them showing like there are different perspectives in life based on like where you come from and what you look like, and this is how I react to the world. I think that's very important too. So hopefully that'll bring people together, instead of like, well, you do this, instead of pointing the fingers, it's like, oh, I didn't know that you were living like that, or that's how you view the world. I understand you more.
Yeah. That would be kind of my concluding thought. I agree with you, and all that was very well said. Perspective, it's very perspective providing, particularly as a white person, I think, and someone that didn't pay attention to history, which is this emoji. And it provided a lot of empathy on my end for them, what they're going through. And to me, it's like a love story of, if love can survive all of this, like, like it's, I mean,
they love each other.
Yeah, they're coming at the kids. Each other. They're coming at it's like, what a journey. So I thought that was very optimistic, and as heavy as it can be at points, I like that conversation. Like, let's get to it. Let's get it out there. Let's
necessary.
Do this. Yeah, it's for sure. It's definitely necessary, but it's done in a very like 2022, 2023 way. And you see, I think, two young people that I think a lot of our young people can relate to in one way or another. Yes. Even if it's one small thing, I think they'll relate and then have empathy from that. because while their story is unique, I do think our young people are going to be coming up in not this kind of situation, but situations like this where maybe it's about race, maybe it's about gender identity, and the world's kind of judging you in some way. Social media, like I think it's relatable in that respect, even though it's like magnified for them. It was just different than I thought.
And think of like all of the, like technically they have mixed race kids. Like think of all of the mixed race kids in America or in the UK, like they feel seen. Like this is touching on different people more than you think.
Agreed.
So I thought it was great. Good for them for, standing up, and shout out to Harry for, doing what he needs to do to be a great father. So
yeah. I agree. And they're kind of like the brand ambassadors for change. I hate to say it, like unsolicitedly so. Even if they get the money, I don't know if they're even getting paid enough to.
Oh no, they get money.
Is it enough though for all this? Like
they will be just fine.
Well, no, they're definitely paying their bills and wear Prada. I'm not worried about that, but just in general, I just don't know. I just have empathy. I will say this because that is not a life that I would wish. Oh,
it's a hard no. It's an absolute hard no.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also I think me and you were different. Like we would rather just, take the money and not be known, and we go
for sure. Or keep the money. We'll figure something else out. I don't just leave me alone with all this stuff. As soon as it was over, I was kind of laughing at like the novelty saying of like, when my Prince Charming comes along, all I was thinking was like, give me a plumber, give me a construction worker.
Look,
like if this
can we talk about the money plumbers make?
Also that
electricians. Just give me a break.
This romanticized thing around prince and princesses and all this. It's like, oh no, like, whatever you do, just make sure it's not that. Yeah. The frog better turn into something else.
No, I'm fine with what my partner does for a living, and he is not a prince. Thank God.
Only in your eyes. Yeah.
Don't tell him that.
I won't. He better listen to this though. That's what's up. Do you want to share where we find you, even though this isn't really about you? Just do it.
You can find me on Instagram at the Ashley Simone.
Yes.
I mean, you can also find me on Twitter at the Ashley Simone. Tweet me. I'm not really on Instagram like that, but say hello.
I kind of like that you have Twitter covered because I don't do Twitter at all.
I love Twitter.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I'll lean into that. The Elon thing is another.
We'll see. He's supposed to be stepping down, but I don't want to speak too soon.
What if there was a party where it was Elon, Trump, the Queen, Tom Cruise?
I'm out.
I'm just trying to think like how we.
I'm out.
Like the best sitcom ever.
Funny. Last fun fact. Yes. Tom from MySpace.
Oh yeah, the picture guy.
Yes.
Is it really him?
Yes, it's him. And people were voting like, well, he put out a poll like, oh, should I be like the next, CEO of Twitter? And everybody was like, please.
Yeah, yes. Run for president.
I'd vote for him.
How does he look now?
Oh, like it's still his old picture. That's the funny part. He's using that picture. So I don't even know what this man looks like today.
Oh my God. That's awesome. Someone needs to be that for Halloween. Yeah.
Love it.
I love it. Well, Ashley, I appreciate your time and energy. You're going to be back on here in 2 seconds, which is amazing.
Thanks for having me.
But thanks for
I'm glad that we were able to cover this because it covers so much.
Oh, we could have got on. My feet are going.
Oh my God.
We could have gone on, but I think we touched on it. Honestly, I actually hope, regardless of our opinions, I hope that you are just excited or inspired to go watch it. And if you don't want to commit to the time, just Google the history. Just that I will take
1,000%.
And dig in. So I hope it just lights a fire a little bit to where we're opening the door to
spark some interest. That's all I want to do. I don't care if you go either way.
Yeah.
But just spark some interest for you to learn more.
Amen. That's what we're here for. I'm still learning.
Same.
But not in history class. All right, check out Ashley. Be ready for our New Year's breakdown. It's gonna be glorious.
Can't wait.
And we'll see you soon.
Yay. Until next time.
Thank you for joining Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Tune in next time, and don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.